Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode to my Everything About series, where I talk about everything to maximum detail as I can on specific things in Destiny 2, mostly to help new and returning players. And in this one we are looking at the Monument to Lost Light introduced with Beyond Light in Season 12. So if you haven't checked out my previous video on exotic ciphers, I'd recommend watching that one first, but guys, the main things to note that what we are looking at here are: what is the Monument to Lost Light, what can you buy and what is required to buy at the Monument to Lost Light, and finally my recommendations on what you should buy first and what the best exotics currently are in PvE and PvP. We'll also look at the legacy gear, and that will all be put into sections in the description, so check that out if you want to skip to a specific part. But now, roll that intro. The Monument to Lost Light Exotic Archive is a feature introduced in Destiny 2 Beyond Light, Season of the Hunt or Season 12, whichever you prefer to go by. It's a kiosk that allows you to purchase legacy legendary weapons and exotic gear from previous seasons and years that are no longer obtainable by quest due to the content vault that also got introduced. This exotic archive is located in the tower courtyard next to the vault, and everyone has access to this. You can buy anything within the archive that you do not own in the game using in-game currency. The currency required depends on the item you're buying. All the legacy gear will cost glimmer, legendary shards, enhancement prisms and ascendant shards. Exotics, however, will also cost glimmer, a lot more, a specific planetary material, ascendant shards, and an exotic cipher. There will be a link and card from this video to my other video that explains how to get exotic ciphers, so check that out if you need to. There are also some exotics that require spoils of conquest, which you obtain from playing raids. This is because the exotic itself came from a raid. Now what should you buy first at the archive? Well, I have some recommendations for you, so let's start off with the legendary legacy gear, specifically the top PvP weapons. However, you should be aware that some of these weapons are capped at 1060 power due to the sun setting, and are pretty much useless in PvE due to its lack of power increase. If you select the gear details by holding LT on Xbox, not sure about other platforms, you'll see the weapons infusion cap limit. Looking here at Luna's Howl as an example, you'll see that it states legacy item and is in grey. This means you can no longer infuse this item past 1060 power as shown, so be aware of that before using weapons in PvE content to ensure it's still useful in the season you're currently playing. For more information on sunsetting, visit the link in the description for more guidance on how this works. Within the legendary section, you'll see Crucible, Gambit and Vanguard weapons. These are categorized by where the weapons were previously obtained from and are in order by seasons released from left to right. Now here are my top 3 buy first PvP weapons in the legendary category. Just be warned that although you will still be able to use these in Iron Banner, Trials of Osiris and other power enabled Crucible activities, you'll still struggle to deal damage to players due to its low level power. These weapons are still fine to use in normal power disabled modes like quick play or control. So in third place on my list we have Mountaintop. This is a primary grenade launcher. Now this weapon has been known to be good in PvE previously, but also destroys in PvP if you play it right. If you're accurate enough to deal a direct hit, or quick enough to make an area of effect damage, then switch to your primary weapon to finish the kill, then this may be the weapon for you. The perks you'll be using for this will be hard launch, spike grenades, rangefinder and micro missile. I'm not going to go into depth about these weapons as this will make the video hours long, but if you want to see more in-depth video guides then do let me know. But the mod you're going to be using for this is Quick Access Slug. This is so you can swap to your primary weapon and finish the kill faster if you don't get the direct kill. Overall, the Mountaintop is a really good weapon to use if you're accurate to getting direct hits or able to deal some damage to enemy players, but since it's sunset, I wouldn't recommend it in PvE activities. In second place on my list though, we have Revoker. This is a primary sniper rifle, and if you love sniping then definitely pick this one up. Now this gun used to be, and I think still is, one of the best snipers to use in PvP for 2 reasons. Firstly, it handles really well, at least it does for me. And secondly, it doesn't matter how bad you are at sniping, you can miss as many shots as you want because you're getting the ammo back if you miss your target. That's because its main featured perk is Reversal of Fortune. Missing a shot returns the bullet to the magazine after a short duration. Now for this, the weapon perks you'll be using are Extended Barrel, Accurized Rounds, Snapshot Sights, and of course Reversal of Fortune. For the mod, I personally use Target and Adjuster, but you guys can use whichever suits you. Much like Mountaintop, I'd recommend using this weapon with either Luna's Howl or Not Forgotten. They all work perfectly well together and the choice is up to you for whatever suits your playstyle. Finally, in first place I've chosen is Luna's Howl. This weapon has been one of the best hand cannons in the game. Back in year 2 when this weapon was first released, it was very overpowered, but I believe it got a nerf. It's not as good as it used to be, but it's still up there with the top PvP weapons overall. The curated role for this weapon is poly rifling, drop mag, zen moment, and its featured perk Magnificent Howl. Rapidly landing 2 position shots increases the next shot's damage and range for a short duration. Using this weapon in the Crucible, you can easily get a kill with a few taps to the head, and in my opinion, it's still one of the best weapons out there regardless of sunsetting. However, remember, it won't be effective in power enabled activities, so only use this in the standard Crucible playlists. Also, just briefly, this weapon along with Not Forgotten was a very big grind to obtain, so you guys are lucky you don't have to go through the pain of doing that questline, as it took a very long time to complete. But now that's it for the legendary section. Although a few other weapons I will mention that are pretty good overall for PvE before sunsetting. They were 21% Delirium, Loaded Question, Recluse and Wendigo. And for PvP, other good options are Randy's Throwing Knife and Redrix's Broadsword. So you can use those too if you wish to. It all depends on what works best for you. But now, let's move on to the exotics. When it comes to choosing what exotic to get first, you should first decide why you want it. Are you wanting to buy it for PvE or PvP activities? Do you want it for boss DPS or ad clear? So let's take a look at the top 3 exotics you should get first from this archive. Starting off for PvE, in third place my pick is Izanagi's Burden. This is a special ammo primary sniper. This was the go-to weapon for most endgame activities like raids and nightfalls, as it deals a huge amount of damage and can wipe out most bosses and champions fairly quickly. Although a few seasons back it got a nerf. It's still up there for the top weapons for PvE content, so I'd recommend this one. This primary sniper comes with its exotic perk Honed Edge, in which you can consume all shots in a loaded mag to deal 1 shot of huge damage. Now if you're going to use this exotic, you have to use it right, or it's not worth using. You want to have the sniper fully loaded and consume all 4 shots, then fire that shot on your target's crit point. The other perks you'll have with this weapon are Chambered Compensator, Accurized Rounds, No Distractions and Composite Stock. Finally, this weapon runs better with its catalyst, but due to the vaulted content I believe you can no longer obtain this currently as of season 12, but hopefully soon that will be reintroduced. A few more tips when using Izanagi's Burden: make sure you have the armor perks that allow faster reloads and are able to carry more sniper ammo, as this will really benefit you in the harder PvE activities. Also another thing good to use is the special ammo finisher. This is so you can perform a finisher on an ad and get special ammo back for the weapon when you need it. Because you'll be using the sniper as your DPS weapon, you'll want to keep a good amount of ammo at all times where possible. Now moving on into second place, we have Ariana's Vow. Another great special weapon to use in nightfalls or activities that have barrier champions. Ariana's Vow is mostly used to take down barrier champions' shields, and I'd strongly recommend at least one player using it in nightfalls. It comes with its main perk, Looks Can Kill. The weapon fires shield piercing ammo that takes down barrier shields on champions. It also has a small scope and acts like a short range sniper. The other perks are Extended Barrel, Accurized Rounds, Death at First Glance and Poly Grip. Again, if you're able to get the catalyst, then do so, as it's always a benefit to improve the weapon. Although this weapon isn't a boss DPS weapon, it can still be good at dealing minor damage when needed. But your main focus for this weapon is to take down barrier shields and major adds with less health than bosses, but more health than a simple minor add. Finally, in first place for our top PvE weapons is of course Anarchy. This weapon is an arc heavy grenade launcher and is known to be the best because of its perk Arc Traps. Grenades stick to the surface and chain arc bolts. The other perks that come with this are Quick Launch, High Velocity Rounds, Moving Target and Composite Stock. This exotic is a raid weapon that came from the old raid Scourge of the Past, and is one of the best exotics in the game for PvE. The best way to use this weapon in PvE is to fire off 2 to 3 shots at your target, whilst then switching to your special ammo to deal additional DPS. Assuming you stay alive when the bolts are active on your target, the enemy with the bolts attached to will take damage over time. This weapon is good because you can have that passive damage over time whilst using another weapon to deal even more damage. So guys, definitely get this one if you haven't, because it's by far the best exotic to have. So those are my top PvE weapons in Destiny 2 as of Season 12. Now let's move on to PvP. So you're a PvP player, or you want a good exotic here to use in PvP? Well, let's take a look. In third place I'm going with the Ace of Spades. This is a kinetic hand cannon, and to be honest, it used to probably be the best PvP exotic, but for me, I think its good days aren't as good as it used to be. It's still worth using though, as it plays really well. So the perks on this one are Memento Mori, reloading after a kill loads the magazine with a few extra damage bullets and grants radar while aiming down sights. Corkscrew Rifling, high cal rounds, Firefly and Smooth Grip. This weapon has good range and I definitely recommend using it, or at least giving it a try if you like hand cannons. But in second place we are having Jotun, or Jotun, however you want to call this weapon. Now although people prefer Bastion as being the better weapon, I personally think this is a better choice specifically because it's very easy to use and you don't have to have good aiming skills. Literally anyone can use this weapon and get kills with it. The Jotun is a good weapon to use in PvE, but in PvP it's still a smasher. The perks we have for this one are Charge Shot. Hold down the trigger to charge up a tracking shot that explodes and burns on impact. This is literally no joke, honestly. The tracking is stupidly overpowered and its range is what causes it to be more deadly. The other perks consist of Volatile Launch, Liquid Coil, Shield Disorient and Poly Grip. So overall a pretty fun and easy to use weapon in PvP, and I'd definitely recommend this in the top 3. But now finally in first place for a top PvP weapon is Thorn. This is an exotic hand cannon and is a great weapon to use in PvP. Much like the last word, this weapon melts targets quickly in PvP at close to mid-range. Now the perks on this one are Mark of the Devourer. Rounds pierce targets and deal damage over time. Kills with the weapon leave behind remnants. Now you can pick these remnants up and it will strengthen your initial perk, as well as partially refilling the magazine. The other perks to note are Corkscrew Rifling, Accurized Rounds and Textured Grip. So overall definitely a nice one to play around with. However, if you are fairly good at PvP then I'd probably suggest Bastion instead of Jotun in second place. And if you're just looking for something different or fun to use but isn't perfect, then try out Leviathan's Breath for PvE, Truth for Gambit and Lee Montague. Otherwise stick to my recommendations and I'm sure you'll enjoy using them. But guys, that's everything in this video about the Monument to Lost Light for new light players. Hopefully you guys learnt a few things, found the best weapons to use that suit your playstyle, or just tuned in to see what I recommend. But that's all for this one. I am Divide and I'll be back with another video shortly. Subscribe and stay tuned.